professional track and field season is effectively over, and during an Olympic year, one of the greatest events that we ever got to witness did not occur in Paris. It actually happened in Zurich. It was a 100-meter dash race with only 2 men on the starting line. And the reason why it was interesting is because neither of them technically run the 100-meter dash at all. But they are not normal. Karsten Warholm of Norway is the 400-meter hurdle world record holder, still at this moment. And Armand Mondo Duplantis, who represents Sweden but is technically also American. He is also the world record holder in the pole vault. But I've got to be honest with you, calling Mondo Duplantis just a world record holder is a little misleading, because he has broken his own world record 9 times. That is almost unheard of, up until they stepped to the line. Their face-off looked a whole lot more like a boxing match than anything we're used to seeing in track and field. And by now you should already know that Mondo Duplantis got the victory, going 10.37 seconds in the 100-meter dash. If you couldn't figure it out already, Mondo Duplantis is not just a pole vaulter. He's the greatest pole vaulter the world has ever seen, and beyond that, I think this 100 is telling you that Mondo Duplantis is not normal. He's only 24 years old right now, and the reason why he's broken the world record so many times, 5 more times than Bolt ever gave us a world record performance, is because he clearly has a superpower that nobody else who's doing the vault can compete with. Because although Mondo Duplantis has been trained to be a vaulter ever since he was young, it's pretty clear to anybody watching that he is really a sprinter, disguising himself as a pole vaulter. Allow me to clarify that last point. He has the talent. In fact, he's always had the talent to train to be one of the world's fastest men. He just chooses not to, regardless of how flawless his pole vault technique actually is. That is not why the rest of the world can't get anywhere close to him. They just can't figure out how to get down the runway fast enough to load the pole with enough force to get them that high off the ground. Although I haven't talked about it much on this channel, I've been following Mondo Duplantis for a very long time now, because I knew that he had way more talent than most people recognize. So when I tell you that he has always had the talent to become an elite sprinter, you don't have to believe me yet, because I've got the receipts to prove it. So allow me to break it down to you real quick. Why Armand Mondo Duplantis is not just the greatest pole vaulter the world has ever seen. In fact, that might even be an understatement. He's really just the greatest sprinter who never really wanted to be one. And it's pretty clear that was a good idea, because by choosing another event, outside of track and field's most popular event, he was able to become the greatest to ever do it without anybody to challenge him. Allow me to go over the facts the way that I understand them, because I am aware that calling Mondo Duplantis one of the greatest sprinters that the world never really got to witness is a pretty bold claim, but it's also one that I believe all the evidence is pointing to. As far as the pole vault is concerned, most people don't really know much about what makes for a good vault. Mondo Duplantis' world record, right now, is 6.25 meters, or 20 feet 6 1/4 inches. The last man to hold that world record put down that performance in 2014. But I don't think that's really helpful, so I'm gonna give it the Usain Bolt test. Usain Bolt's world record in the 100-meter dash is 9.58 seconds. We are now watching men run 9.79 seconds to win the Olympic gold medal. It looks very slow compared to what Bolt was doing. But to be clear, the Usain Bolt test means taking what he did in his world record performance and dropping that time straight into the race. So if you put what he did into this Olympic final, of course he wins, but it's only by 2.2% on his performance. What Mondo is doing in the vault is outclassing the rest of the world in this present Olympics by 4.5% while breaking his own world record. He then broke it again shortly thereafter the Olympics. Nobody in the world who is vaulting has even a prayer of beating him right now. And the vault isn't like a sprint event where people line up in lanes against you. They just sit there and watch him do something they can't ever do. In fact, the last time Mondo Duplantis lost the pole vault championship at any level was in the year 2019. Remember, this is 2024, and in 2019, he was a college freshman. But that championship he lost wasn't at the NCAAs. It was at the World Championships, where he got silver. There's really no debate to be had at all. He is the GOAT when it comes to the pole vault. The only real question is why is he so much better than everyone else? And I am here to say it's because of his speed. But if you're new here, I want to say thank you for even making it this far into the video. And I'm Coach Rob, the founder of SCArecruiting.com, where I rank the best track and field recruits across the entire nation. And if anything that I say actually connects with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe. But if I don't, just let me know in the comment section, because I try to read them all. Even though he competes for Sweden, the case of Mondo Duplantis is incredibly easy for me to analyze, because he competed for an American high school in Louisiana. And I'm the guy who did the high school national rankings. If you travel all the way back to Mondo Duplantis' high school career, he ran the 100-meter dash, but he only ran it twice. That was during his senior year of high school. Up until that moment, we had no real idea just how fast he actually was, and he ran 10.57 seconds the first time he ran the event. To clarify, that is a low-level 4-star performance in the 100-meter dash. He could have earned himself a scholarship in that event, at the very least to a mid-major D1 program, from that one race. And the second time he ran the 100 was at the state championship final. He didn't run a new PR, but that's besides the point, because that really wasn't his priority anyway. It was the pole vault, where clearly he was way ahead of the rest of the field. Interestingly enough, the year before that, he competed as a junior in the long jump. We're still talking about a young man who was competing at the World Juniors and the World Youth Championships prior, in the pole vault. But in the long jump, he went 23 feet 5 inches. That is just 1 inch away from 4-star level in that event as well. What I'm trying to say is that Mondo Duplantis is apparently a very real track and field athlete. He's not just a vaulter, and he apparently doesn't really want to be a sprinter or even a jumper. But he can do all that stuff if he wanted to. There are 2 reasons why we don't see more athletes like Mondo out there in the sport. One is that almost nobody is that talented at multiple events, specifically a skill event like the pole vault, in addition to a speed power event like the 100 or the long jump. And the other reason is that many athletes don't really want to do all that many events, especially those who have a prayer of sprinting competitively. At the high school level in America, just about everybody wants to be a sprinter. Even some of the best distance runners would trade their talent in as a distance runner to be a sprinter if they could. But almost no talented sprinter you would ever talk to has a desire to do any other event. Why do you think throwers 4x1s are actually a thing at the high school level? They know they're not fast in the sprints, but they want to do it anyway, so they go out there and run. It's also why there is an overabundance of 2 and 3-star level sprinters at the high school level. 2 and 3-star level sprinters very well may show up in D1. I was one of them. But I know, in hindsight, I probably should have been doing the hurdles or something. I got faster with good coaching, don't get me wrong. But I was never going to get fast enough to compete with the 5-star kids if they were doing what they really were supposed to. Mondo Duplantis became the Gatorade High School Track and Field Athlete of the Year as a pole vaulter. That is nearly impossible to pull off. Almost always, that award goes to a sprinter, sometimes a distance runner. That's how Trayvon Bromell won it, as well as Michael Norman. But like I said before, Mondo wasn't really just a pole vaulter, and his state championship performances proved it. That's just the event that he chose to focus on. He actually comes from an incredibly athletic family. His father was one of the top pole vaulters in the world back in his day, and he has 2 brothers, one of which was competing at the World Junior Championship level as a vaulter as well. But the other decided to stop vaulting and instead became a baseball player, who was very dominant at LSU, might I add, which takes baseball seriously. For a while, I used to consider pole vaulters kind of like the extreme sport athletes of track and field, because, well, going that high in the air on a pole isn't normal. But Mondo Duplantis is an athlete, one who is so talented that he can basically never run the 100, and when he does decide to step onto the track, run faster than most of the people who train for it all year round. And people forgot just how talented Mondo was beyond the pole vault, because he hasn't really done anything but pole vault since the time he left high school. At LSU, he never did another event because that program is one of the few in D1 that is so talented they wouldn't need him to. Yet the majority of D1 programs outside the SEC would have at the very least considered him on their 4x1s. Yet I also feel the need to point out that the freak athlete phenomenon in track and field is not specific just to Mondo. He's just the latest case that we're witnessing right now. Simply put, if you are a truly elite sprinter, you can disguise yourself in the other events. And if you get enough technique, you'll probably dominate. So much so you'll be threatening to break a world record, if you're not actually pulling it off. Ashton Eaton was the first in recent memory, because even though he was a decathlete who won an Olympic gold medal and broke the world record in that event, he was really just a short sprinter who was disguised as a decathlete. It's the reason why when he was at Oregon, they didn't put him in the decathlon, at least not at the Pac-12 championships. They would put him in the 100, and in the long jump, and even in the 110 hurdles perhaps, and have him just score points in those events at the conference meet, because it made more sense than trying to put him in a decathlon. And Grant Holloway is clearly another example. He's the 60-meter hurdle world record holder now, and he's 1/100th of a second off of the 110 hurdle world record. But when he came out of high school, he was high jumping, long jumping, running the short sprints, and hurdling. It's only when he got to Florida that he started cutting down on some of it, and he was still an NCAA championship level long jumper, who also ran the 60-meter dash without hurdles, and won the NCAA championship in that event, the one time they let him run it. His decision to double down his efforts on the 110 hurdles is why he's now an Olympic gold medalist and one of the greatest to ever do it in that event. But imagine what Grant Holloway would look like if he was running the short sprints right now, competing with Noah Lyles and Kenny Bednarik and everybody else trying to get on Team USA. And most people don't even give him credit for it. But Rai Benjamin is another example, because in the 400 hurdles, he's been going toe-to-toe with Karsten Warholm himself, trying to break that world record, and he's dangerously close. He was able to run the 100 and go 10.03 seconds when he did it, and break the 20-second barrier in the 200-meter dash. He could definitely threaten to make Team USA in the short sprinting events, but by getting out of those events, he's given himself a chance to now become an Olympic gold medalist. We really don't know how fast Mondo is because he won't ever let us find out, until he trains for the 100-meter dash for more than a week or two, and runs the event multiple times in a season with purpose. Whatever time he's putting down is just the starting point on his speed. The Swedish national record in the 100-meter dash is only 10.08 seconds. I am willing to bet that if Mondo actually wanted to train to pull it off, he probably could go out and do it. I refuse to believe that if he actually tried, that he couldn't threaten to break 10 in the 100. It might not get him an Olympic medal, or even a world championship medal, but it might get him in the semifinals at the very least. Don't get me wrong, I am aware that Mondo Duplantis is the greatest pole vaulter that the world has ever seen, and he's likely not looking to switch events anytime soon. But I'm also certain that he knows the truth, that the fact that his sprint speed is unmatched by anybody else out there in the vault is the reason why nobody can get up in the air with him. And for that reason, he isn't just the greatest vaulter that the world has ever seen. He's also one of the fastest sprinters that we never got to see. And the only reason, because he did what was best for him by choosing to focus on another event. In the sport of track and field, confidence is everything, because when you win, that is just the moment when everybody else finds out what you already knew to be true, that fast is a lifestyle. Get your fast is a lifestyle track and field gear at scarecruiting.com/shop, or use the link in the description below. It's a huge support to me and this channel, so I can continue to make you more content like this. And remember, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe.